Hey guys, welcome back to Hype RC. In today's video, we're going to be doing some upgrades to our Rlaarlo AM-D12. Now, this is absolutely one of my favorite releases from 2023. This thing is a beast and absolutely did not disappoint in any categories. But I ended up getting a big pile of upgrades from Amazon, and I ordered some stuff from Rlaarlo themselves. So we're going to get all these upgrades put on and check them out. One of them I kind of brainstormed and came up with myself. I've seen a few people talk about wanting this type of an upgrade, so we're going to go ahead and do it. So stick around and check it out. Alright guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the upgrades we're going to put on our AM-D12. We'll start off with the Amazon ones. So these are the cast aluminum suspension knuckles and front steering knuckles and casters. These come with bearings. They ought to be pretty nice, and we'll get those dudes installed to beef that up. Next thing I ordered, so they had this listed as a 2650 kV. This sticker that even came on it said 2650, but this is actually just this factory motor. It's the 3100 kV that actually comes on the rig. So I've got another project that I can use this for, so we'll just set that to the side for now. But I did order this Amaral 14th scale rear buggy wing. Amaral's a sister company, Rlaarlo, and I found this online. So we're going to see if we can't get that fifth wheel off the back and get a wing put on there. I did buy some red aluminum wing mounts. We'll see if we can get those to work. And then red anodized aluminum center brace. That'll be nice. And then these heavy duty upper and lower steering links. These are way beefier than what come on there, so that'll be a very nice upgrade. And then I went ahead and ordered just an extra front and rear aluminum shock tower. These are always good to have on hand, just in case you get a little bit too crazy. So let's get all these put on and see how well they look. Alright guys, I got the upgrades installed on this rig. Now we did have some major problems with a few of the upgrades, and we'll go over that in a minute. But we're going to start off with the pros, and the number one pro is I did get that wing mounted on the back, and it looks super dope mounted up on this thing. Ought to help this thing fly through the air and pick up some speed on speed runs quite a bit. Now I did modify the rear fifth wheel mount and chop the top off to keep it on here to work basically as a rear bumper and protect that wing on the back, so that actually worked out pretty well. And then the casters and the knuckles on this, these are cast aluminum. They're going to be tougher than the plastic injected molded ones. Now they're not going to be quite as tough as the anodized solid aluminum one-piece ones, but beefing these up at all is going to be a major improvement over the plastic ones that it came with. These did come with non-shielded bearings in there. I'm probably going to look at down the road getting shielding bearings put in here, but I'm not going to do that on this part of the build. But these came out really nice. And one thing I did find out when I was doing this is that the wheel nuts in here, if you can see down in there, they have this stop. So when you put these on, it sits right up against that axle. So when you tighten these up, you're actually tightening up against the wheel hex and not the bearings inside. So that is super nice. Now, I did find an extra 30mm fan that I had laying around from another old project, and I went ahead and threw some screws in it, and now we'll be able to keep this nice and cool. So that was a free upgrade. Now let's get to some of the problems. So when I went to mount this wing, so they sell this as an upgrade for this vehicle, and you can see it did not work out with the body mount. I actually had to do a ton of modifications to get this thing to mount up to the rear shock tower here, and I did them and I reinforced everything, but it was a real pain in the butt to get that to go. And then the next problem is you're going to be able to see real quick here, they sold me this brace, which they have now recently taken off as an upgrade for the AM-D12, but you can tell it's a little bit short. It's not going to fit on there. So they have removed that one, but it was on the list when I started doing the upgrades for this. So that is not going to work, and that kind of stinks. And then the next thing is all of my tie rods. So they still have these listed as an upgrade for this. And these tie rods all use 2mm screws. Yep, 2mm, right? So that's what it uses right there. Well, everything here is mounted up on 3mm, so it does not work. They basically sent this with nuts and expect you to drop this through an open hole and put a nut on the other side. That is not a good way to go. That is a major problem. And so all of these tie rods, they're basically no good to me. I am not going to install it janky like that. That is not a good quality part, so do not order that. Rlaarlo's got some bugs that they need to work out or anything. Like I said originally, this 2650 motor that they had listed as an upgrade, you know, is the 3100 motor. So I basically have 3 upgrades that do not work on my AM-D12. Now, the AM-D12 itself is rock solid. I love this. One of the most impressive things about this is all the adjustments in the shock mounting locations. This front concussion bar on here, you can tune all the tie rods and everything in with the droop screws and really set this rig up just perfect, just the way you like it to go. And the front sway bar actually works. See how that races that other side just a little bit? That is an actual functioning sway bar. Some companies put them on there and they just have them too tight the way that they mount them up and do them, but this is actually done right. This is still one of my absolute favorite rigs of 2023. So let's go get this dude out for a bash and see how well it does. "54 miles an hour, the aereo package is definitely working." Alright guys, let's talk about how our upgrades performed for our Rlaarlo AM-D12 desert buggy. So we're going to start off with the upgrades that did work, and then we're going to talk about the ones that did not work. So we're going to start off with the wing. It definitely helped the performance of this rig. The speed runs were much faster. We hit 54 miles an hour, which was just flying with this rig on asphalt. The knuckles and the casters in aluminum also did very well. I banged this thing off of a flagpole. I wrecked it at 50 miles an hour. I tumbled it, cartwheeled it over the hill multiple times, and I did not break a single thing on this rig. I did pop off a tie rod, but with a pair of needle nose pliers, I snapped it right back on, and it just kept running. You know, the fan that I installed on this did perform well. The motor and the electronics do not get hot on speed runs or just a hard bashing. So the RTR from Rlaarlo are absolutely amazing. They are great vehicles right out of the box. You get a lot for your money. But when it comes to the upgrades, you're going to have to be wary, especially with the ones you purchase directly off Rlaarlo. So the upgrades that did not work for this are the center brace and the tie rods. So I did contact Rlaarlo, letting them know that, hey, that these are listed underneath your upgrades specifically for this rig, and they don't work. I can tell that the center brace has been moved off of that part of the site, but they have not removed the tie rods, and they don't work. So you don't take a 2mm screw and send it all the way through a 3mm tapped hole and put a nut on the other side. They're slop, you know, and with tie rods, like that's just a terrible design. So I do not recommend buying those. The wing mount worked, but I had to do a lot of work. I had to drill out the rear body mount and stick longer bolts through there to get it to work correctly. So you can do it. You know, it just takes a little bit of work, and I do think that it's a worthy upgrade, and that wing held up through some serious wrecks, as you saw in the video. But so with Rlaarlo, you know, I still recommend buying their RTRs. I think they're great. You know, there's been a mess since the AK-917 with logistics and getting your products, and now we're having kind of a problem with them listing, you know, upgrades that don't specifically fit your vehicle. They've got a new release coming, which is the 787, so I guess we're going to see how that all shakes down. But from my personal opinion, yes, the RTRs are good. Anything past that, you know, there's a possibility of having problems. When I contacted Rlaarlo and told them, hey, look, I have $60 worth of upgrades that you had listed for this vehicle that don't fit, don't work, or you know, the KV on the motor wasn't what you listed, they offered me $5 in return. And I said, well, you know, how about just sending me a couple upgrades that do work? And they said, well, why don't we give you $10? So at that point in time, you know, I know that, you know, they're willing to at least try to make it right to a certain degree. So I'm just, you know, we'll use the $10 and just purchase some more upgrades and see if they work or not. That way I can tell you guys whether they do or don't. But I highly recommend buying the upgrades off of Amazon at this point in time, because those all specifically fit this vehicle and I did not have any problems, and you can get those in a day or two. When you order off Rlaarlo overseas, it's going to take time, and you know, if you do get like the tie rods, it's not worth my time and effort to try to send those all the way back. You know, those will just go in the part bin, and maybe there's another rig in the future that I could use those on. So I do recommend buying this rig. The RTR is great. This thing, I bashed the daylights out of it. I cartwheeled it. I wrecked it upside down at 50 miles an hour, and you know, I hit a pole in the playground and head on, and it didn't break anything. So this rig as an RTR is amazing, so I still recommend purchasing it. So don't forget to support your local hobby shops. Bash, Carl, repeat. Hit that subscribe and like button for me and ring that bell so you can catch my next video. We'll see you next time.